The Tequila Worm by Viola Canales, Chapter 17. The Pantyhose Baby. It's like being in a pressure cooker, I said to Brooke as we raced back to the dorm after field hockey practice to shower and dress for dinner. I mean, I hardly find time or the energy to even think of my family, and there were still hours of study hall before lights out. Then the same every-minute filled cycle started too early the next morning with the clang, clang, clanging of the wake-up bell. So it's working, Brooke said, tossing her hockey stick in the air and catching it. What's working? These sun-up-to-sundown filled days. Take Tiff. It's gotten to the point where the back and forth from here to home makes him feel awkward at home. It's as though his school friends are his new family. I thought about what Brooke said as I stood brushing my teeth before lights out in front of a row of sinks. As I walked down the hallway to my room, I heard the stereos. Rock music blared from one room, classical from another, then jazz. It was as though every girl was trying to assert whatever individuality she had left in the few desperate minutes before lights out, before we were all thrown together into sleeping, eating, studying, playing, praying, and doing everything together again the next day. As I lay in bed staring at the glow-in-the-dark rosary, the vows, Julia, started playing in my mind, and I saw Papa waltzing with Mama around the kitchen table and Berta and Lucy stumbling, making up the waltz as they went along. Did the girls in the dorm play their music to conjure up some image of home, of their past? I thought about how Tiff felt awkward at home and how he felt that his school friends were now his new family. From all Brooke had said, her family was warm and close, and they lived right here in Austin. I leaped out of bed and took Theopetra's plastic-covered notebook from my desk drawer. I grabbed a pen and my secret flashlight. Brooke was fast asleep. I got back into bed, pulled the sheet over my head, and then clicked the flashlight on. I started writing. It started as a letter to Papa, but it turned into a story about the image of my family all waltzing around the kitchen table. I made my characters talk. Berta said, "Stop stepping on my toes, Lucy, or I'll bite you." "Okay, Berta, but only if you pop out of my quinceañera cake." This made me laugh. I finished my story at 2 a.m, with Papa kissing me goodnight. I smiled, turned off the flashlight, and went happily to sleep. I felt they were all in the room with me. I woke early the next morning and reread my story. I called it Waltzing to Julia, around the kitchen table in McAllen. I started writing a letter home. Now more than ever, I didn't want to lose touch with my family. I smiled. How could I? I kept getting more and more wacky packages from Mama. The very first week at St. Luke's, Mama sent me a round brown rock the size of a fist with a picture of Yoda on it. Mama called. "Sophia, did you get my package?" "Yes, thanks. Is it a rock?" "It's a paperweight, Sophia, for your desk. But Lucy is making hers a pet." "A pet?" "Yes, a pet rock. I put a rose on hers, a picture I cut from a True Confessions magazine." "Where did you get the picture of Yoda?" "Yoda? Who's Yoda?" "The picture on mine." "Oh, I didn't know that funny-looking elf had a name. He's perfect since he has pointy ears like yours." "Perfect. As perfect as the pantyhose baby she'd made for me years ago from old pairs of hose and dressed in overalls, a baseball cap, and tiny red sneakers. She insisted on taking him to H-E-B, the grocery store, and putting him in the shopping cart seat. We went up one aisle and down another with Mama talking to her baby Jesus. I followed her to the candy section where she started showing bag after jumbo bag of candy to Jesus, asking whether he wanted lollipops or candy bars or bubble gum. She kept doing this until she finally got a couple of stares. The cart was now stacked full with bags of potato chips, cream-filled donuts, and a big tub of lard. After making sure the stares were still on her, Mama headed to the beer department. As she was picking up a 6-pack of Tecate and another of Corona, she got a tap on her shoulder. Mama turned, a pack in each hand, to find a tall woman with red lipstick and a man with a black pen saying manager. They glared at Mama. The man said, It is not allowed to leave a baby unattended. Mama grabbed Jesus and tossed him high into the air. They gasped. She caught him and yanked off his cap. They gasped louder. Jesus didn't have a face. Mama laughed loudly, wiggling Jesus, and said, "Don't worry, he's just a pantyhose baby." That would make a good story, too, I thought as I kept writing my letter home. Aside from the Yoda rock, I received a tiny pair of pants she'd made out of 2 dish towels. They were for the kitchen, she said over the phone, for storing the plastic bags from the supermarket. Now, instead of stuffing them into a drawer or behind the stove, I could stuff them into the pair of pants. And once it got full, it looked great because the stomach expanded and looked like the pants had just swallowed a big watermelon. You hung the pants on a hook and stuffed the plastic bags through the waist on top. Then you retrieved them as needed by simply pulling the plastic out of the legs below. "Thank you, Mama," I said over the phone. "But remember, there's no kitchen here." "So use it for your socks. But be sure to hang it on a hook so everyone can see it. Lucy just loves hers. I'm making one for Berta." Then there were the delicate flowers and birds she carefully crocheted on covers for rolls of toilet paper. Lucy got a green one, I got purple, Berta got red. The strange dusting gloves she made by attaching hundreds and hundreds of strands of yarn to a perfectly good glove. I felt a jolt when I opened the package and found what looked like a giant spider inside. "Mine had taken the longest to make," she said when she called. She used 10 different colors of yarn, whereas Lucy's was all just a shocking pink, the glove as well as the yarn. She was making one for Berta, too. "Isn't it great?" she said. "Go and try it out." I slowly slipped a glove on and then moved my fingers. It was the strangest thing with hundreds of strands of yarn of all colors dangling from all 5 fingers and the whole palm. "Go dust your bookcase, your room altar." I walked over to the bookcase in the corner and slowly started rubbing the plastic Virgin and the chipped saint. I couldn't even feel the surfaces I was dusting. It felt like my hand was floating. "Now, isn't that great?" she said. "And you can't even see the dirt on the glove, and I bet it'll be a big hit with your friends, and soon you'll be calling me to make them some too. And that's okay, but don't lend yours out, except to Brooke, or you'll never see it again." I eventually received the embroidered tortilla holder she made by sewing 2 handkerchiefs together, the yarn cap with dangling plastic circles that looked like shark gills, the basket made from the plastic rings that hold 6 packs of pop cans together, styrofoam clown heads for the tops of all my pens and pencils. Aren't they great? You can talk to them as you write, and countless other things just for me. But one thing I sent back was something she'd made by trapping my old Barbie doll in a huge ruffled red dress, crocheted and decorated with yards and yards of shiny bows and lace. I just couldn't believe it. Barbie seemed to weigh a ton. What's at the bottom? I asked on the phone, for all that showed of my former doll were her little head, neck, and arms. "Rocks." "Rocks." "Yes, rocks. She's a doorstop." I said to myself, what can I do with her to make her useful again? So that's when I got the idea. "But she's a doll, Mama." "Not anymore. And anyway, her left leg kept falling off, remember?" "But what do you want me to do with her? You know that my dorm room has swinging doors about 2 feet off the floor." She finally agreed to let me send her back until I got a real door. She said, "I wish you were more like Lucy. She always loves my gifts." I said, "Lucy might love the Barbie doorstop." "Lucy's already taken care of. I'm making her a doorstop too, using her old Easter bunny." "You're putting a dress on her pink rabbit?" "Sure, it'll look great." As I was addressing the envelope, the wake-up bell started clanging. Brooke yawned, stumbling out of bed. "I had a dream about you last night, Sophia. You and your father were waltzing around this kitchen table. I think you've told me so many stories about your family, especially about your father, that I've now started even dreaming about them. Wow, my secret story did bring them here." I called home that evening. Lucy answered, laughing. "What's so funny?" "You." "Why?" "Mama just finished making the Sophia doll for Clara, and it's so funny looking. Looks just like you." "Gee, thanks." "No, you should see it, Sophia. I mean, it's so funny how she attached your crazy hair to the sock doll she made." I could hear Berta laughing in the back. She even put pointy ears using buttons. Send it, Lucy. I want to see it so I can destroy it. Imagine Clara going around with this crazy Sophia doll. No way. It's going straight to Clara first thing tomorrow morning. You'd kick it to shreds if you saw it. Well, it sure sounds like the Canicula lives there at home and for the entire 365 days a year. We miss you, Sophia. How are things up there? Okay, a little crazy, but most of the students are nice, or at least nice enough. Now let me say hi to Berta. I've gotten 3 more requests to borrow the bedsheet dress, Berta. You're amazing. And thanks for sending me those chocolate bars. How are you? Well, Jaime and I are still together. I know you've sent 50 pictures of Jaime so far. We laugh. But how's Lucy? Boy, she misses you. She's always talking about you. How's Brooke, Marcos, classes? Brooke's fine. Nice, but still hogging the ball in hockey. Marcos is fine too. He's funny. We kick the soccer ball around on Saturdays and catch up on our Spanish. We complain about how it's all about getting into college here, about the individual, about competition, about this thing they call character building. We've both made friends here. And as for classes, the teachers are terrific. It's amazing, Berta, how hard they work. They live and work St. Luke's, even eating all their meals with the students. So far, I'm keeping up. But I miss you all so much. Can't wait for Thanksgiving. Now let me talk to Papa. After Papa spoke to Mama and after I hung up, I started to cry. A big part of me wanted to go home, now. School felt like a strange passage to... I didn't even know where. My calls home were also feeling more and more like performances, always sounding cheerful. If they only knew how many times I'd been to my secret place, the old oak tree by the river, to cry from loneliness. Later that week, I received my first package from Papa. It was the tequila worm he'd promised in a tiny empty mezcal bottle. I made it part of my room altar, setting it next to Papa's secret cascaron. My stories were helping me feel less homesick. Now Papa had sent the real cure. I'd save it just in case.